And then do a little introduction words.
Yes. So once again, welcome to Do Tell Story Swap. When we are not virtual, we're based in Santa Rosa or Sonoma County. And this is our first swap online. So we're all very excited, a little intimidated, maybe too. And we have a list put together, I believe. Here it is, I see it. And the first teller is Sharon. And I just want to say that Sharon has really impressed me. She has been telling quite a bit online, actually. Like back in June, you did one of the Silk events, one of the Stories in Living Color, isn't that right? Well, you were on, let's see, 6 Feet Apart Productions, maybe it was, or, and I was very impressed with your stories. I love when you become a historical character. I've seen you play the part of a Sonoma County historical figure and win the hearts of everyone in that theater. And so everybody, please welcome to our virtual stage, Sharon Elwell.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. I didn't know Melquiades Escobar for very long. I saw him only a few times, and it was years ago. But I have never forgotten what he taught me in those few meetings. I was working as a substitute translator at Queen of the Valley, an interpreter, not a translator, on weekends. And the pager went off. And I heard that someone on the second floor wanted someone to go upstairs and read to them from the Bible. So I grabbed my Spanish Bible from the shelf in the interpreter's office and headed up to see what was what. And that was my first glimpse of Melquiades. He was a tiny, weather-beaten little man in a big hospital bed. And he was getting even smaller. The complications of diabetes were ravaging his body, and he was losing parts of himself. First some toes and then a foot. On the day that I met him, the lower half of his right leg had been amputated. But he didn't want to talk about that. He wanted to talk about King David in the Bible. And not the one that killed the giant, please, he said. Not the one that battled the Philistines. I want the one that made the music for King Saul. So I went to 2 Samuel and I looked and I found El Espíritu de Jehová se apartó de Saúl. La música de David desempeñó un papel muy importante. But he interrupted me right then. And he said, did I ever tell you about my friend Gerardo? And I said, well, no, I've only known you for a couple of minutes. You haven't told me anything about Gerardo. And he said, oh, he was a fine musician. He played the guitarrón, those big fat guitars, and I played la guitarra. And we had a friend that had a trumpet, and we played the first mariachi band in the Napa Valley with those big charro black suits and silver buttons down the legs and big sombreros. And oh, we had so much fun. Gerardo was just wonderful. And as he said that, his eyes were drifting closed. And I was a little worried that he was leaving the world right there while I was with him. But I soon saw that he was breathing, and I went ahead and tiptoed away. Well, the next Sunday, the same thing happened. He called me again. And up I went with the Bible to see what was on his mind that day. And he said, I want to learn more about King David. Can you tell me about his wife? And I turned once again to 2 Samuel and I said, Mical fue la hija del primer rey de Israel y se casó el sucesor al trono, David. And that was as far as I got because he interrupted me right then. And he said, did I ever tell you about my first wife? No, you never did. Well, she was a great one. She was a great one to cook, he said. She liked to cook things that she grew herself in our own garden. So she always made her own cilantro, her own cebolla, her own tomatillos, her own ajo. She grew everything we needed to make wonderful meals. And she was a wonderful cook. And once again, his eyes drifted closed, and with a smile on his face, he went back to sleep, and I took off. I only saw him one more time. And the third afternoon, when I was there and he called for me, I went upstairs with the Bible. I didn't have to be told what to do this time. And he said, could you read to me about King David? I really want to know about his son. Oh, I was kind of worried about that one. David didn't have a happy time with his children, but I looked it up and I started. Absalón fue tercer hijo de David. Llamaba la atención por su hermosura y la abundancia de su pelo. But he interrupted me as usual, and this time I was prepared for that. And he said, did I ever tell you about my son, Samuel? Nope. I said, you never have told me about Samuel. Oh, he said, he is a fine son. He was tall and strong and athletic and did well in school. And when he grew up, he started his own business and he married a beautiful woman and they have wonderful children. And while he was thinking about those wonderful children, his eyes closed and he drifted off to sleep for the third and last time that I saw him. But after all these years, I never have forgotten Melquiades. And I hope that when I get to the part where there's nothing left of my life but memories, I have banked and held on to and remembered all the happy ones so that I can be like him. There's that.
Wow. Oh, Sharon, that was beautiful. And you really captured how a story inspires a story, right? You would start telling the story of David, and just a few lines was all it took to bring it out of him. That was very, very beautiful. We all thank you for that. Thank you so much. So let's see. I am going to look back over at our list. And next on our list is Evelyn, a wonderful teller. And of course, Evelyn was the one who invited us into Rohnert Park and provided that beautiful space for Do Tell for however many months we were there. And I imagine that's where we'd be going back to once we're out of the shelter in place. So I hope everyone can welcome Evelyn to the stage. Let me find you, Evelyn. I'm looking around here. Meg, Terry. Where? Oh, there you are. Sorry. So let's get you front and center. Evelyn.
Okay. So yesterday I confirmed a dentist appointment. It seems that every time my checking account gets nice and plump, my teeth knock the wind right out of that fat little balloon. I have so many dental issues that Sunny, who's been my partner of 9 years, decided during the pandemic to really watch my toothbrushing routine to see if he could give me some helpful pointers. What was it? Why is it that I spend so much time and money at the dentist? But all his advice and looking at it, he just scratched his head. So I think it could be genes, but I also wonder if it's not karma. See, when I was 24, I moved from Sonoma County to San Francisco. There were two reasons I made this move. One was because I wanted to get a teaching credential at San Francisco State. But the second reason is I had this dream of writing the great American novel. And what better place to write a novel than San Francisco? And as luck would have it, another college friend had become an editor at a small book publishing house. And she invited me to a party there. And I thought, this is great. Everything is falling into place for this writer's life in San Francisco. So I'm at this party, and me and this man across the room make eye contact. I give him that come hither look. He comes over, we start a conversation, and eventually gets around to, well, what do you do for a living? He tells me he's a dentist. I laugh so hard, I almost double over. I notice him sort of put his tail between his legs and slink off, never to be seen again. And had he known that it wasn't that I found dentists particularly funny, it's just that what I had expected to meet at that party was a writer or an artist, because someone that would fit with this life I thought I was going to have, going to college by day, going to North Beach at night. We could sit over a coffee table, drinking espresso, talking about books and writing. Somehow a dentist seemed just so bread and butter ordinary, it took me by surprise. Well, now, every time I hand some dental receptionist a check with 4 digits in it, I think about that party. What would have happened instead of laughing? What if I had said, a dentist? How interesting. How would my life be different? Now, maybe me and that dentist, my dental problems would be kind of a running joke. We talk about how I spend so much time in his dental chair that we call it foreplay. We wouldn't. Instead, that road I didn't take, now all I have to show for it is a lot of silver in my mouth and an empty checking account.
Wow, foreplay. I've never thought about dentistry as foreplay. That is so funny. Oh, and my teeth are my own worst enemy too, Evelyn. You're not alone. Wow, that was very, very charming. I wonder where he is now.
I know. If you find him, let me know.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. That was wonderful. So I guess one of the things we can't do as well on Zoom is express our appreciation for stories. I guess you know, you can do kind of spirit hands and people can see the flutter in the little Zoom boxes, or you could unmute yourself and do a whoop or two if you remember to mute yourself afterward. But both of those stories, I'm sure, got big whoops inside people's private homes. So our next teller, oh, Lori, you are just full of gems. I really like each and every tale that you have shared with us, and I can't wait to see what you have for us tonight. Please welcome to the Zoom stage, Lori Reum, rhymes with museum. I know that. I hope I got it right.
It's pretty close. It's Reum, rhymes with
Reum.
museum.
Museum.
Yeah, yeah. This story is about frogs, and I actually have my frog mug right here.
Yay.
It was summertime, and I was working in the garden, and I had big bags of supplements, or soil amendments like soil and compost and different good things to add so my vegetables would grow well. And I reached in with a spade one day to get some more soil, and out jumped a little frog. And it was a really small frog. And I thought, it's a kind that can fit in the palm of your hand. I thought, I wonder if this is the same frog I've been hearing out there with a really loud croak. And you know, when I thought about it and tried to figure out how to mimic that sound, it really isn't like a chirpy cricket or a note you could find on the piano. It sounds like, it's like Donald Duck or something. I mean, and if you listen to frogs during this rainy season as you're walking around or just in your own yard, I think you'll agree that it's a quacky sound. So anyway, I just got a kick out of this little frog, and I thought, oh, good. And then it seemed that every time I went to reach into that bag, another frog would hop out. And I thought, this is interesting. And then I looked at the bag more closely. It's Happy Frog. And I thought, wow, look at that. I got really nice, rich soil for my garden, and I got frogs, happy frogs at that, 2 for 1, truth in advertising. Although, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure if they were happy, because I think they were more startled as they hopped out of the bag as they saw this big spade coming towards them. But anyway, I was happy, and I hoped that they were happy too. So my garden is along the side of the house where all the sun is. And on my front porch, it's a long walkway, and it's kind of shady. And I thought, you know, I'd really like a little bit of color there too, as people come and go, you know, in the days when people would come and go. So I got a pot of really brightly colored impatiens, like coral pink and startling fuchsia, and just really bright colors. And they liked the shade, which would have fit well on my porch. So I put them in a clay pot, and then I had been given a big glazed pot that was more decorative. So I put the clay pot inside the larger pot. And it really looked nice, and I would come and go to my walks, and it just felt nice to have that color there. And one day I stepped outside, and there was one of those little frogs right on the rim of the pot. I thought, oh, how cute. It's so nice to see that frog. Well, as time went by, I realized that more than one frog lived in that pot, because they'd start showing up in different places, and I would come home from a walk, and they'd be on the rim, they'd be on the steps of the patio, they'd be suctioned to the siding of the house like super frogs. And I thought, you know, it's a good thing I kept my porch light on, because I wouldn't want to step on one of them. It's bad enough stepping on a snail, but can you imagine stepping on a frog if it's slower than your foot? So at my front door, there is a vertical glass panel next to that door that lets in light in an otherwise dark entryway. And when a person walks by, or even a car drives by, the walkway light will come on. There's a motion sensor. So I was glad for that, because I would take walks in the summertime and come home to all these frogs, and I was just glad to see where I was going. And I thought they were so cute, but I started wondering, how many frogs are in this little pot? And of course, the first time one of them got in, you know, when I had the screen door open, It's not so much fun trying to track down a frog. And of course, in the garden, they'll be very vocal, but in the house, no, 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 they wouldn't give me any audio clues. I just had to look around for this little frog and you know, talking to it the whole time, like, oh, I think we'll both be happier if you're outside, you know, and trying to encourage it to jump into the cottage cheese container so I could take it outside, not just to the porch, but all the way to the garden. Well, after that happened a couple times, I thought, but you know, I really like those flowers. It's okay. I'll just open and close the door more quickly. One night I was reading in my recliner and it's in full view of the front door and that window. Reading along, glanced up again and gasped. It's like there was something huge on the glass. And I thought, what is that? Is that a monster? Is it an octopus? What is that thing? And, you know, I thought I'd croak. So I got closer and I looked and it was a little frog splayed right onto the glass. But of course, the light behind it had magnified it. So it wasn't just a little frog. It was Frogzilla. Oh, that made my decision. That pot of flowers very next day went back to the garden and hopefully with it all of the frogs. And just to make sure they would stay where they belonged, I kept a bag of Happy Frog amendments right there so they would know where to go. Thank you.
Spirit fingers, everybody. That was so cool. I love Frogzilla. Oh my gosh. A small frog, but he carries a big croak.
That's right.
That was wonderful how both his voice, you know, were bigger than he was, and his shadow was bigger than he was too. Great unity in that story. That was wonderful, Lori.
I practiced the story this afternoon with a friend, and she said, that has to be true because who could make something like that up? And I said, you're right, it was true. Every part of it was true.
And you had evidence. You had the Happy Frog bag and you had evidence. That was great.
That's right.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that story.
Thanks.
So moving to our next teller. Oh my goodness, we're in for a real treat. You will be taken undoubtedly, like always with Katie, to another world, a magical world. And I can't wait to see where she takes us tonight. So please welcome to the Zoom stage, Katie Mangan.
Thank you, Brandon. This story is called The Apology. In Eduardo's world, winter arrives in November with the rains. And that's when Mother Earth sleeps. And it is in December when the snow falls that Mother, under a thick white blanket, begins to dream. And she dreams in her new world, the new year. Now, with the rain and the snow, the roads have become impassable. And so everyone stays at home. They begin to hibernate. They have been so busy during the year, plowing and planting in the spring, tending to the crops in the summer, and harvesting in the fall, that now they have some time to rest and they relish it. Time to read a book, to write a letter, to knit a sweater, to clean out a closet, maybe weave a blanket. It's also during this winter time that Eduardo's community practice an ancient art called reckoning. And this involves thinking back over the year, month by month. What happened? What was said? They ask themselves, do I owe someone an apology or am I waiting for an apology? And when they have become comfortable with their year, then they put it aside and they begin to dream in their new year. Eduardo is in his kitchen with Alice, his housekeeper, and George, his gardener. They are beginning to to plan for the spring planting. Now, Eduardo has been unusually quiet, and he suddenly bursts out, "I am stuck in the month of July." And they both realize that he's halfway through his year of reckoning. They also remember what happened in July. "Tomorrow morning, first thing, I am going to go to Tom Bladford's house. I am going to apologize." "Oh, Eduardo, you don't need to apologize to him. He needs to apologize to you." "No, George. Yes, I was very angry when his pigs escaped and got into the vegetable garden. But you know, I never, ever went to check on the old man. His wife had died earlier in the year. You know, I never went to see if he was okay. I fell down on my duty as a neighbor." And so the next morning, even before the sun had risen, Eduardo guided his horse down the path, through the wood, and up the hill. As he crested the hill, he looked down onto a sheltered valley, and that's where he saw Tom's farmhouse, with smoke coming out of the chimney. Well, that was a good sign. Eduardo paused at the farmyard gate. He was waiting for Tom's ferocious dog to appear, but it never did. He got almost to the front porch when suddenly the old farmer appeared, a shotgun under his arm. "Who's there?" "Tom, it's Eduardo." "Who?" "Eduardo. What do you want?" "I've come to apologize." "Oh dear. We better talk. Come on inside." Eduardo took his horse to the barn and went to the woodshed to get wood for the fire. Eduardo was shocked to see that the woodshed was half empty. There was not enough wood there to carry him through these long winter months. Tom met him at the front door. By his side was his dog, growling softly. "Oh, take no notice of him. He's old. He's deaf and blind. Not long for this world, I'm afraid." The two men sat by the fire drinking tea. Tom looked at Eduardo expectantly. "Did you bring me anything?" "Oh, yes, cookies from Alice, 3 different flavors. She wants to know your favorite. And dinner for tonight." "Oh, she's an angel. She's an angel." "Eduardo, did my pigs come onto your property?" "Yes, they did." "Oh dear. Did they do much damage?" "Well, Tom, they got into the vegetable garden and, well, George, my gardener and I, we were able to replant most of the plants that they rooted up. But Tom, you know, they went in the direction of the village and we weren't able to catch any of them." "That's strange, Eduardo. No one from the village came and told me they'd found a pig or 2. I reckon some families are eating well this winter." Eduardo told Tom that he would return with George, and together they would cut the wood and they would stack it in his woodshed. It would perhaps be in 2 or 3 weeks' time. When Eduardo returned home, he told Alice and George about his visit. George immediately said he would knit Eduardo a sweater, and Alice said she would knit him her scarf and put food aside for him. And Eduardo set up his loom and wove a blanket, all different colors of blue. It had been his wife's favorite color. It was during this time that Eduardo was in the village one morning and he found a stray dog. It was young, very friendly, super smart. He thought this dog might be the perfect companion for Tom. And so he took the dog home and began to train it up. It was 3 weeks before the weather was clear enough for Eduardo and Tom to make the journey. Sorry, Eduardo and George made the journey back to Tom's farm. That morning before they left, Eduardo intentionally did not feed the dog, even though the dog was hungry. When they arrived in the farmyard, there was Tom standing on his porch, very excited. I knew you'd come. I knew you'd come. It's the first fine day in weeks. The young dog, seeing Tom, raced towards him, tail wagging wildly. And as the dog got closer, he could smell food on the old man's hand and began to lick his fingers. Eduardo, didn't you think to feed this dog before you left home? Come on, my friend, I'll give you something to eat. Eduardo and George put their horses in the barn and went to the woodshed. They picked up the last pieces of wood and brought them into the house. They sat by the fire as Tom unwrapped his gifts, so delighted. And the young dog lay at the old man's feet, half asleep, belly full. But of course, the time came when George and Eduardo needed to go outside and begin the arduous task of chopping the wood and stacking it in the woodshed. During the day, Tom would appear with encouragement and with food and with water, and each time the young dog by his side. Oh, this young dog's good for me, gets me up out of my chair and out of the house. The sun was almost setting when Tom raced out, very concerned. My boys, look, the sun, she's almost setting. Oh, it will be dark before you get home. But they assured him not to worry. No, the moon, which was almost full, was beginning to rise. It would shine on the snow. There would be plenty of light to see their way home. Before they left, George noticed Eduardo staring intently at the dog, silently commanding him to stay, for this is your new home. As they were saying goodbye to Tom, he thanked them again. Oh, you're such good neighbors. Oh, thank you kindly, yes. You know, the past year, that was so hard, so difficult, so sad with the death of my wife and my dog. But you know, this year, it looks so hopeful, so promising. Blessings, abundance, healing to you all.
We're doing spirit fingers for you, Kate.
Thank you.
So beautiful and so timely. Here we are starting a new year. And of course, the way we can make this a better year after the hard one is to be a good neighbor, right?
Yes.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's a beautiful message.
Thank you.
So, well, unless we don't have someone else sign up, we have one teller left, and what a treat this is. I think many of us in our swap consider Elaine to be a mentor. I certainly do. And every time she takes the stage, I always learn something new. So please welcome to the Zoom stage, Elaine Stanley. Elaine, you need to unmute.
Thank you. I forgot. Old people take time to get into these new things. But you're a wonderful bunch of storytellers, and I feel almost embarrassed to follow you. You're so good. Every story was wonderful. And so I thought I would do a Robert Service piece called The Quitter. When you're lost in the wild and you're scared as a child, and death looks you bang in the eye, and you're sore as a boil, it's according to Hoyle to cock your revolver and die. Oh, the code of a man says fight all you can, for disillusion is barred. But oh Lord, I haven't done this in a while and I've forgotten it. Sorry, forget that one. I'll do another story. The story of life. The snowshoe hare was young and strong and agile as he went bounding out across the snow, darting through the long shadows of a late afternoon. Bounding one moment, and in the next, all was changed. For this sudden turn of events was unfathomable, for the northern goshawk was so silent, swift, and hard when she hit her mark. There was no time to comprehend this new reality. For what time the snowshoe hare had left in this world could be measured in heartbeats, and the volume of blood that pulsed his light through the hawk's talons and into the snow. The poor snowshoe hare could not see past the pain and fear of his remaining moments. But if he could, oh, if he could, he would have seen a large female goshawk in her 5th season with bright yellow legs and a silvery gray breast etched with lines so fine they mesmerized. Her head was large and broad, with a formidable gray beak that darkened at the tip and hooked efficiently. She had a slate-colored back, which told us she was an adult, and her wings splayed to both sides for balance, like the runners of a sled. I apologize. I am sorry. I must not be in the place to tell stories tonight because I have forgotten that one too. I guess I was so taken by all the stories I heard, I just forgot all the stories I know, and I'd apologize to you. So
I think sometimes it's because you're telling it to a camera, right? It's harder. It really is harder.
now I see my face and
Yeah.
and I go, who is
I
that old?
certainly feel that too, Elaine. I feel it.
I apologize. I've never been so unprepared for storytelling, but it teaches me that maybe I should practice a few times before I go.
Well, at least now we know our swap works and we can do this. So I look forward to when you tell that next week, or next month. That'll be really great.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
Do you want to try a third, Elaine? Is there a third one you'd like to give a go?
Dozens of stories. You've heard them all. I'm not going to embarrass myself anymore. No, there is no more that I'm going to try tonight.
Well, thank you, because those were 2 very beautiful beginnings.
That'll leave you wondering now, how does that end? Except you probably did it before. We'll see some other time. Thank you.
So something that we normally do is we go around in a circle, and I wondered if we could give that a try. I'm going to just kind of spotlight each one of us, and if I miss you at the end, be sure you let me know. The boxes kind of move around, so it's a little bit hard for me to know, that I've gotten to everybody, but I'll do my best. And we usually have a question that or a prompt really, so that everybody gets to share just one or two sentences, but it's always a good time to introduce ourselves, say where we're Zooming from, and let's see if we have people from New York in here or something. We don't know because it's Zoom. So I'm going to start. I'm Brandon Spars. I've been in the SWAP for 5 or 6, maybe 7 years, I don't know, 5 years. And I'm a local high school teacher in Santa Rosa. And the prompt for tonight is, what is your Zoom indulgence? Or what is your shelter in place indulgence? And mine is that I will stay in bed all the way until 7:59. And guess what time I start teaching? 8 o'clock. I can brush my teeth in 1 minute, turn on Zoom, no showering, nothing. I just go straight to teaching. And I just wet my hair and make it look like I've taken a shower. And so that is my, is that the right word? The way I indulge myself in this strange stay-at-home world. By sleeping into the very last minute. And of course, that's something I could never do if I had to go up to the high school and teach a regular day of classes. You can get away with teaching with no pants on. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So I'm going to pass it off to Sharon, who is next on my screen. And Sharon, maybe you can tell us what your secret little sin is during this time of shelter in place.
Gosh, that's one thing that I like, is how quickly you can get ready for stuff. And the other thing is, and I think Jerry was doing this too, you can do other things at the same time, like crochet or knit or check your email and still look like you're paying attention to what's going on. So I'm guessing that's mine.
That's good. And my students will actually paste pictures of themselves, and then they're not even in the room. And of course, I eventually find out, but I mean, they try to get away with all kinds of stuff. Thank you, Sharon. And Sharon, you live in Santa Rosa, right? Yes. And how long have you been coming to Do Tell? I think you're muted now.
There we go. Gosh, I guess it's 4 or 5 years
Yeah,
since it was in the Humboldt Church. And yeah, I just love it. I was so excited when I moved to Santa Rosa and found out there was a group there, because I had gone to the Mariposa Festival a couple of times and heard some wonderful tellers. And I thought, oh, that'd be so much fun to do that. And then when I got there, after a couple of meetings, I got kind of encouraged because everybody was very encouraging. And yeah, it's wonderful. Well, I've enjoyed it very much.
Very good. Thanks so much, Sharon. And next in my Zoom order is Elaine Stanley. And you need no introduction, but go ahead and introduce yourself anyway.
Hi, I'm Elaine Stanley, and I've been telling stories a long time, even though I can't seem to finish one tonight. And let me see, what is my indulgence? At first, it was watching tons of TV. I had recorded lots of shows that I would eventually get around to seeing, and I would just watch it, show after show after show, 3 or 4 hours of shows, and it felt quite indulgent. And then I got tired of sitting in front of the TV just watching stories. So I started Zooming on stories and, watching some of the things that SAC is putting on. But I'm tired of being alone with just the dog. I talk to him and he doesn't talk back to me. So I'm tired of being alone and I'm ready for us to get together.
Yes.
It's something
Yeah.
magical about stories when the audience, you can play off their energy and really, really guide a tour of storytelling in a room of people. You know, there's something magical about that.
There
So
sure
I
is.
miss that the most. But TV, I guess, is what I do.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much. And I guess we just make do with what we have. So next on my list is Katie Mangan. And of course, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, hi. Ooh. Okay. Hi, I'm Katie Mangan and I live in Santa Rosa. And I think what I enjoyed at the very beginning was, you know, when we had to shelter in place, it was just a great excuse to be by myself. And, you know, I just didn't have to be with people. I, you know, said, oh, I can't meet with you. But now I find it's a little awkward sometimes if somebody asks you to do something or are you available? And it's like, you don't, you know, it's more difficult to make an excuse. You know, you have to really think of this. Whereas before you says, oh, no, I'm going out to dinner or something. It's like, yeah, I'm not going out to dinner. So yeah, it's interesting. The whole thing. But of course, I do miss not getting together at the swap and being with people. Now I'm missing that.
Oh, we miss that. We all miss that. So this is my chance to pronounce your last name correctly, Lori. Lori Riem. Yay! So I am putting you in the spotlight, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
As Brandon so well put it, I'm Lori Riem. I live in Southeast Santa Rosa. And I'm not a screen person. I don't have television, and I once in a while watch a DVD movie or something, but so I wasn't like getting lost on the internet or on movies and other stuff. I'd actually prefer to be unplugged. So I guess if you call it an indulgence, I read a lot, and I was really enjoying having the time to read without having to justify it to anybody else.
Yeah.
A little mini story. I have a little free library in front of my yard, in front of my house. And I have quite a backlog of inventory because I also volunteered at a couple of the libraries and I would work at the book sales. So I had quite a backlog. And what I've decided to do was, because it's hard to justify going anywhere. And so I would go to the farmer's market and then I would just be so glad not to be at home that I want, well, where else can I go that's outdoors and alone and safe, right? So I looked up on the official Little Free Library website, there's a map showing different locations of other libraries. So I would find some in the area that I was headed to, and I would make a little map, a little route, and I would load up my car with books that I had already circulated in my own library, or just they didn't actually fit physically in my library, or whatever reason, I was ready to pass them along. And I thought, those people don't have sources for books either if they're relying on the library book sales, which are on hold for a long time. So I would go out like a little Santa, and deliver books to all these different little libraries. And it's been really a fun experience. And of course, I'm alone and I'm masked and I have my alcohol wiped before I touch anything. So I'm keeping it safe for everybody. But it just feels good to share books and stories and reading in that way.
That's wonderful. I like to think of you as the book fairy, Lori. Beautiful. And next on my list is Nicolene. Will you introduce yourself?
Okay. Woman. So my name is Nicolene. I live in Santa Rosa. I've been coming to the swamp for maybe 7 years because Case was still here, and anyway, seemed like forever. So how I have been indulging. Well, I catch up with a lot of little projects in my apartment. Not automatically fun, but it feels good, you know, to have it behind. But then what I live alone and I have no family around, so I was feeling lonely. But two of my friends had agreed to meet with me separately once a week, and we have been exploring all of the park around the area. So every week we go to a different park. Now we are going back to the same, but so it has been very nice for me to twice a week to have a friend, and we go for a walk and we have lunch. So that has been very helpful emotionally, mentally for me as a support for all of those months. Especially I was planning to go to France and my flight was canceled in September. Then I rebooked for October and they canceled me again. So now I hope to go in spring. For now I'm here and I hope to write a story maybe for next month. We'll see.
Yay, that would be wonderful, Nicoline.
So
what a great idea for how to make the best of the shelter in place. I love that, going to all the parks.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can do.
Wonderful. So next in my list is Vina.
Hello, everybody. Wonderful to be here. Wonderful to see you familiar faces again.
Yay.
So I'm Vina Breifogel. I live in Pengrove. And I think I started at Story Swap after Katie told me about it, which is 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I don't really know. It was on Humboldt Street. And I've loved it ever since. It's fabulous to hear people's stories. It's just like nothing else. Except the one other thing that it's not too dissimilar from is Metropolitan Opera. So my husband and I have been watching literally 200 operas during this whole 9 months because they have a free one every night. And you can go to their website and find out what the opera is going to be. And we have friends who are total opera aficionados, and they tell us which ones we should not miss and which ones have which singers in them that we also don't want to miss. So by now we're getting a little bit less outside the loop on opera. It's been pretty wonderful. And it turns out that opera is fabulous storytelling to wonderful music. So all of you storyteller appreciators out there, you might like opera more than you think. You know, you get past feeling like, I do not want to hear one more loud woman singing what's not going right for her. Because really, you just get right past the singing. You don't even think about it. You're just listening to the story and the music. So that's one pleasure, not a guilty one, but the guilty pleasure is we bake all the time. John and I have always got something in the pantry that's fresh. Cookies, pies, right? Today he made a chocolate cake. That's what we had for dessert tonight. So it's been kind of wonderful. He'd lost a bunch of weight before this whole COVID thing happened. So really, we have no restriction on how much dessert we can eat. So it's been very fun to try out a bunch of new recipes and always have a sweet on hand. Although I did have a tooth that was starting to say to me, no more sweets.
You got to find Evelyn's bow from all those years ago. That dentist is needed everywhere.
Right. Or I just have to learn to cool it on the sweets.
Wow, I love hearing what everybody is doing because these are all great ideas. And next I have Evelyn.
Hi. So I live in Rohnert Park and have been going part of the Story Swap, I don't know, for a couple of years or something. So there are a couple of things. One of the really great benefits is that when we were in lockdown, at one point, first we were going to the parks, then they closed all the parks. Well, my partner Sonny has always been kind of an avid biker, and I always felt like, you know, bicycles was one of those things that was kind of like vitamins. It was good for you, but it wasn't that comfortable. Well, when that was the only thing, we started biking. I mean, and like biking all over the neighborhood. And I went from feeling sort of not totally comfortable on my bike to feeling like I did when I was 12 and was on my bike all the time. So so that's a really wonderful gift that we've spent a lot of times on the bikes and going to parks. And then the other thing is also I've been I've been cooking a lot, and then because I like to feed people, so Sunny's only one person, so now I'm feeding all the birds in the neighborhood. They're getting spoiled rotten. I even wondered, is it possible, can you feed wild birds too much? Because I never let their food thing get empty now, like I'm watching. And so but so far the birds don't look like they're getting fat, so I guess that's okay. But anyway, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, Evelyn, thank you. I don't know if you can feed a wild animal too much.
I know they'll show up at my door and saying you can't do it anymore, the birds are getting anyway, but.
So next in my list is Terry. Hi, Terry. You need to unmute.
Here we go. I unmuted.
There we
myself.
go. Sure.
Okay. Hi, I live in Sebastopol, and I guess the COVID, what it did for me was I go for a lot more long walks now, which is wonderful. I have time to because I don't have anywhere to go. So, and I have learned how to make my favorite scone recipe of all the scone recipes that I had. But one of the things that was really cool, I volunteer for Series Project, and what they do is they feed people who are too sick to be able to care for themselves. And so, and of course, during COVID, you're not only sick, then you're isolated. And so what I couldn't do what I used to do for Series. So now what I'm doing is I do drawings and I send them as notes with the meals. So they deliver meals every Wednesday and Thursday. And I do drawings to put in with the meal with a little note. And I was doing that for a while. And then I started recruiting other people. And I went to my next door group, and there are people who are interested. And I went to my church, and there's people who are interested. And I told my neighbors, and there's people who are interested. And it's really kind of cool. I got a second grade class from San Francisco to send me drawings. And I got a professional artist to do some drawings for me. So it's really cool. I'm just sort of, every week I gather whatever anybody sends me, including my own, and then I take it down there, and they include them in with the dinners. So I'm not going to say everybody, they feed like 400 people a week, but who knows, maybe 20 people, maybe 40 people, depends who answers. And it's kind of cool. And they had a 400% increase in people who speak Spanish needing their services. And so I go use Google Translate and I type in what I want to say, and then I can write both the English and the Spanish. So it's not an indulgence, but it's been a fun thing that I would never in a million years have thought to do, but I had no choice because I couldn't do the other things. So anyway, and I want to make sure that I just want to clarify something. So if you want to tell a story, am I correct? You do it through chat? Because I felt like I did that and I'm not sure it showed up.
Oh, well, we can certainly have you tell after we go around, Terry.
Why don't we wait till next time? It's fine. I mean, it's getting late. It's fine. But is this true? Can you see it on chat? Can you see what I said?
Let's see. I don't, just offhand. Maybe Katie does.
I sent.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, if there's time, I'd like to tell a story. That's okay. Yeah, I do see it.
So maybe next time.
Oh, and it was to me. Oh, it was directly to me.
Well, one was directly to you, one was directly to Katie, and one was to everybody. So
Oh my God.
I thought, well,
How did we miss you?
I don't know,
so
but it's
sorry.
okay.
I'm so sorry, Terry.
Oh, Terry.
That's okay. And I got to tell you, Terry is my wife's name. My name is Vicky.
Oh,
So-
I'm sorry.
No, you can't know that because it says Terry, but I'm Vicky.
Very
So-
good. Well, Vicky, you are so welcome here, and we're glad you came, and we look forward to your story.
Thank you. And Elaine, I'm looking forward to hearing yours. It sounded wonderful.
Yeah.
Please save that story.
Brandon,
Yes.
I have a request because it's been almost an hour and a half. If we can
Mhm.
take like a 2-minute break just to move a little and maybe use the restroom before we finish, because I'd like to hear from other people, but I'm a little
Sure.
restless, and I'd also like to hear Vicky's story if everybody wants to hang around.
I would too. Yeah.
So we
So
take like
we
a
will-
2-minute break?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
Okay, so Jerry will pick up with you, and let's take a 2-minute break.
Vicky, are you around? Oh,
Oh, hi. I'm here.
Vicky, would you like to be on our email list? And
Yes, please.
Could you give me your email? Do you mind doing it over?
No, no problem. Oh, could I chat it? Because it's easier if I type it.
Yes.
All right, let me do a chat.
Thank you so much.
All righty. And you are Katie, right?
Katie, K-A-T.
Okay. Did you get that?
Not yet. Hold on. Oh, sorry.
And we were with Jerry, or is it, I don't know. I should ask you to introduce yourself.
Okay, I unmuted. Is that okay?
Yes, sounds
Hi,
great.
everyone. I am so glad to be here and see some really friendly faces that I've missed over these last
Yeah.
few months. I'd like to thank whoever started the Zoom, whose ever idea it was. It's great. I'm really enjoying it. And Sharon, I wanted to know why you think I'm not paying attention if I'm doing crocheting. That I do no matter what I do. It's always.
No, I think you're paying attention. I just think you're multitasking.
Yes. I was started with the story swap. My first meeting was at Humboldt, and that was the last meeting at Humboldt. I think I went there. So I didn't come for a while because I didn't know you had moved. Finally, I found you. I think it was in Oakmont, and then followed you to Rohnert Park. So I really enjoy this. As far as our lockdown indulgence, my life up till this point has been very, very busy with lots of doing things. And I have been actually sitting down in the afternoon and reading a book. Normally I read at night before I go to sleep. But now I've been reading in the afternoon, and I'm really enjoying that quiet and just being able to do that for myself.
Wonderful, Jerry. That's such a great way to spend a cold, rainy afternoon with a cup of
That's
hot
true.
tea. Yeah. Very good. Nice to see you, Jerry.
Yeah, nice to see
And-
everyone.
Very good. Next in my column is Meg.
Mute. Can you hear me now?
There, good.
Okay, hi everyone. And thank you guys for coming. Yeah, I want to just address how we got onto this Zoom thing, because regardless of the fact that I've been on computers most of my working life since the early 80s, I do not like them. And so when we went into this lockdown, I was not at all interested in spending time doing Zoom things. I would live my life in real time and in real place. And, but we got that opportunity with SAC to do Telebration this year. And if any of you were able to come, we partnered up with the Inland Valley storytelling people in Southern California. And the person we worked with down there, his name was John St. Clair. He was just so encouraging. You know, he gave me all the good reasons, like, well, you don't have to leave your house. You can sit on your couch. You can eat bonbons and drink tea, you know? And I thought, oh, and he said, you can go anywhere. There are all these things happening all over the country. You can go anywhere and enjoy storytelling. And it really kind of put a bug in my ear. And so, John was a real inspiration, I think, to me and to Katie and to the rest of you who participated in Telebration. And after we got done with that, we said, this was so fun. We should do this, you know, and kind of pulled it together. And Brandon was kind enough to offer to be our host. And so we kind of divided up our little tasks to do and met with our core committee and got approval by everyone. Everyone was very enthusiastic and positive. So here we are. And I really just, I'm just so happy that we are now able to continue something that I think we all just really love. I've been with this swap since Kenneth's house. Went to a festival that my mother had told me about up in Northern California and totally got hooked, just totally. So when I came back, I looked for some story group and found Kenneth, and the rest is history, really. As far as my indulgences, I'm so busy. It's unbelievable how busy you can be when your family is all around you, sheltering in place, you know, having to cook together, but staying just in that little bubble. So my biggest indulgence has been to get into my craft room and just sort through all my craft stuff and do craft stuff as much as I like and play with my grandsons. And so, you know, I feel very blessed that, you know, I have the ability, my family has the ability to stay safe, and that we all like each other, so we have fun. And so I'm looking forward to all the rest of the swaps that are going to be coming along after this one. And thank you all for your stories and for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you, Meg. And speaking of going anywhere and attending any sort of event, I just got a message from Marian Ferrante, who, you know, is really the engineer behind all the swaps, and they're linked to SAC. There is a Thursday morning swap in San Francisco, and they have only a tiny group, and so they would love for other people to attend. If you're interested, that's this Thursday in the morning. Go to the SAC website and you can get information for how to join that. It'd be fun to go see another swap, and it was really cool when we joined up with Inland Valley. So next on my list is John. Hi, John.
Okay, am I unmuted? I am. Okay. Hi, it's really great to see you all again. Cher and I are here listening, and so let's see. We went to Kenneth's house many years ago. I don't know how long it was ago, but got hooked, you know, and been listening ever since. Cher tells stories sometimes. And let's see, I teach piano online these days to elementary school kids. I was going to schools, you know, after school programs during the year, and then last March it all went to heck, and now I'm teaching online. I've finally gotten used to teaching on Zoom, which was really driving me crazy when I first started trying to teach kids piano. So, so my indulgences are, let's see, learn to play the ukulele, and recently got into doing wood burning. So here's one of my little, I don't know if you can see that. There you go. That's all, folks. And then I made this one for Cher recently. At her request, she had a request for this design. So anyway, having a lot of fun with that. And then, you know, we used to do a poetry meeting once a month, and then we would do like a separate little story swap type of thing once a month. It was, you know, kind of informal at a coffee place. And then since then we've gone online and we're doing it every Friday. So we have that's available if anyone is interested in coming to that. There's a few people on here that have been participants, and it's stories and or poetry and or whatever, mostly literary type things. Cher's not wanting to be on screen right now. She says hi, and so yeah. So thanks for doing this.
And a happy birthday to Cher tomorrow.
Tomorrow's her birthday. Yeah, happy birthday.
Lori, you always keep track of everybody.
Yeah, happy birthday, Cher. It's my calendar too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Gay Barner is next in my column here. I'm going to spotlight you.
I think I did it. I think I unmuted myself.
You did it.
Did I unmute myself? Anyway, I want to say thank you to the people that put this together also. That it's been amazingly wonderful. And I probably have been going to the swaps since Kenneth's house when he had it in his garage, whenever that was, long time ago. And my indulgence hasn't really been, I haven't actually been in Santa Rosa for about half a year because I've been in San Diego with my son who is in a life-threatening accident. And I'm here just for the holidays actually. And then I'll be going back with him for more surgeries. So I haven't really done a lot of indulgences. It's been pretty focused what I've been doing. So these stories being able to be in a Zoom fashion means that I don't have to even be here. I can be anywhere and be able to listen. So I'm really, really happy to be a part of this and that people are doing this. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Gay.
Thank you.
And for some reason, I have lost the ability to to spotlight people. That's very strange. But anyway, so I believe we have the pleasure of listening to one final story, unless there's others.
Brandon,
Yeah.
Claire.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. See, I'm looking for Claire. I'll put it in gallery. And Claire, where are you? I don't see you. Claire, are you there?
Maybe she's left.
I don't see Claire anymore, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon. Sorry.
I'm sorry about that. So we do have time to listen to Vicky. Hopefully I can get her up there. There you are, Vicky. So we're looking forward to hearing your story.
Okay, how do I get rid of this later? There we go. Hi there. I'd like to tell you a story about Eva. Eva is about 5 years old, and she discovered that if she slips her feet into her daddy's shoes and she spreads out her toes like a duck, she can actually pick up each shoe and walk down the hall. Okay. And then she thought to herself, you know, I want Mama's hat if I'm going to do this. So she went and got Mama's hat and put it on her head. And she got an umbrella out of the closet just in case there's an emergency, because you never know when you're going to need one. And her feet like ducks in Daddy's shoes. And she clomped down the hall looking for somebody to visit. So her first visit was the dog. The dog was asleep on her mom and dad's bed. And the dog opened his eyes, kind of, sort of. And Eva said, hi, and waved her umbrella. And the dog rolled over and went back to sleep. So Eva splayed out her toes like a duck and walked down the hall to the living room, where the cat was asleep on the bookcase. The cat didn't even open his eyes. So Eva backed out of the room and went down to where her mama was talking to her mother on the phone while sorting the laundry and worrying about what to have for dinner. And there was no room for Eva. So Eva backed out again and walked finally down the hall with her umbrella and her mama's hat on her head to the kitchen, to the big table where her daddy was. Now, her daddy had been out of work for about 6 months, and the house had been real quiet, really, really quiet. And there was Daddy at the desk, and he had a whole bunch of papers that he was sorting through. She came in. Daddy! And he looked up, and she saw that his eyes were red, and she saw he was crying. And Eva had never seen her father cry before, and it frightened her. So she did her feet like ducks and backed out of the room and went into the hall. And then she took her mama's hat off and put it on the ground. And she took the umbrella and put it against the wall. She slid her feet out of her daddy's shoes that were so cold and smooth and hard as rocks, and ran out the door to the backyard. And she couldn't help herself but dance when she could feel the warm morning grass on her bare feet. That's it. Not War and Peace.
So those were really cool images. Wow, I really enjoyed that, Vicki. Thank you for that. And you've done some mime before or something. I love how you moved your hands. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much. And we are so lucky to have you in our swap. And I hope you come next month and tell another story, and I'll be sure to keep an eye on the chat so I don't get you sidelined like this time. I'm sorry about that. All right. Well, I think the key to tonight's success was all the great stories. That's what did it. But that wasn't bad for our first Zoom, was it? I'm sure the core committee will get together and have some ideas about how we can make this better. But Do Tell meets the second Tuesday of every month. And of course, the Zoom link will be sent out to everybody once again, just like tonight. And I think we'll be in touch with SAC to see how we can get that opened up a little earlier so that we can do signups and things like that. But I want to thank everyone for coming tonight and participating in this experiment. And for those of you who told stories, wow, they were all fantastic. Really, really wonderful. Meg or Katie, do you have any final words?
Yeah, I would like to thank you, Brandon, because you're so great, you're so upbeat, and you just handled everything, and it's just so beautiful. And you get us all together, and we are so lucky to have you. And next time you must tell a story, because you have such beautiful stories to tell. But thank you again, because this was something that Meg and I discussed, that if you could sort of be the Zoom host, then we were going to go for it. And it's awesome. So thank you.
Well, it
Final.
is my pleasure. So thank you all for being so patient too with some of the little glitches. I'll get better at this too. It's a little different than running a high school classroom, but basically there's some similarities too. A big thank you to Marian Ferrante, who kind of saved the day, who stepped in and hosted this. Marian, are you still there? She may not be at her desk, but she did step in and open the room up for us. So we wouldn't have had this without her. All right, everybody, unless there are any other announcements, I'm going to bid everyone a good evening, and I'm excited to see you all in 4 weeks. This will be great.
Nice
Bye,
to
everybody.
everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Bye.
Brandon.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Brandon.
See everybody.